Hi everyone, it's Mr. Mortgage. It's September 1st and I'm going to do something special today and backtrack to the July foreclosure and existing and new home sales reports, even though they put them out about 2 weeks ago on the blog, which you can go to by going to ml-implode.com, the original mortgage lender implodometer. When you get there, look at the top left and click on my head. It's an icon that takes you to my blog. And I put these out before the official reports. Now, the official reports for foreclosures are put out by Realty Track once a month, and the existing home sales report is put out by the National Association of Realtors. And I put these reports out prior to them by about a week, and of course, I nailed them again. But the reports show that the market's getting better on the headline. So I thought it was important to come to you with a video, and I haven't done a video in a while, right? It's been a few weeks, but I had other projects to get in on. I apologize, but I haven't stopped doing videos, just didn't have the time recently. I thought it was important to come at you with a video so I could really emphasize how important it is not to read the headlines with respect to real estate, because it is getting worse. And I don't guess on this data. You know, I think I'm the only independent research analyst out there that actually has the real data on all notice of defaults, notice of trustee sales, foreclosure sales, how many homes and loans are going back to the banks, and each bank at what discounts, home equity lines being wiped out through the foreclosure process, extensions in for the foreclosure process, and so forth. So you know, I try to use all that with my experience in the industry to really come out and bring you accurate reporting that nobody else out there has. So let's start here. Let's start with foreclosures, and then we'll go into the existing home sales numbers. So in the month of July, and remember, August numbers won't be out for another few weeks, so this data is still current, there were $12.5 billion in loans that went back to the banks from the state of California alone. Remember, California is 40% of the total foreclosure problem in the nation. So you can use that, always remember that, and you can extrapolate national figures out of that. Almost 30,000 homes were foreclosed upon, went to the auction. At the auction, there are really no third-party bidders anymore. So 96.5% went back to the banks, and those sit on banks' balance sheets, and they were bought back at pretty serious reductions from the original loan amount, right? Between 35 and over 50% in many cases, especially out in the subprime epicenters. I mean, stuff that has loans on it for $550,000 are selling out of these auctions for $250,000, $275,000. It's incredible, the kind of prices. But even at $275,000, one can argue they're still very unaffordable, but that's for a different story. Notice of defaults. Okay, keep in mind, in June, total foreclosures were about $10.2 billion. July, $12.55 billion. So we had an increase in foreclosures of almost 25%. And keep in mind, the foreclosures that went back to the bank and occurred in the month of July were from defaults a year to 9 months earlier. So this is still middle of to late of 2007, and since then defaults have surged. So by using notice of defaults to gauge where foreclosures will be, we know where foreclosures are going to be down the road 6 months already, and the foreclosures are going to be much stronger than they are right now. That's why when you hear these headline numbers out here, it's usually all old data, but we can see real-time current data by analyzing the notice of default data and cure rates through foreclosure. And right now, cure rates are at an all-time low because people have no incentive to cure their home. Well, they can't sell and they can't refi, and there's no reason to cure their default because they're too far underwater. They can go rent cheaper, and that's just essentially, in a nutshell, how it works. So notice the defaults decline, though. We've been averaging over 40,000 for the last 4 or 5 months, and they declined to right around 40,200 from 43,000 in June. Why is that? Is the market getting better? No. Countrywide makes up for 91% of that 2,800 notice of default fall. That's weird. So the market's not getting better. It's all countrywide. So there's something going on with the Bank of America merger, or Countrywide just has so much of this, which we know they do, that they just pushed off notice of defaults into the future further and did something. Who knows what it is, but it's interesting, and unless you do real granular research, you would never ever know that. You would just think notice of defaults are falling, which would be a positive for the market. But in reality, notice of defaults are not falling. Countrywide's just fell off a cliff for some reason. But that kind of makes sense here with what's happening with Bank of America. So Interesting, notice of trustee sale. Now keep in mind, notice of defaults come 90 to 120 days after the borrowers miss their payments. Then they send out that, and 4 months later, they send out a notice of trustee sale saying in the next 30 or 60 days, your home's going to go up for auction, right? Notice of trustee sale surged in the month of July, up 9.6% to almost 35,000. Now that is because fewer people are choosing to cure them. So you have to go back and look at notice of default rates 4 to 5 months prior to gauge what the notice of default rate or the notice of trustee sale rate for July would be, and it was pretty much flat. So that shows you fewer people are choosing to cure their notice of default. Discounts at auction, again, record levels. 30% or 80% were discounted over 30% and 25% over 50%, and that is from the original loan amount, and usually those are at about 80% loan to value, so you can see how much the houses are actually being discounted. Now that segues me into the existing home sales report for the month of July, which I reported about a week before it came out. We show headline sales up in the state of California to 39,500 total sales. But you have to look at the pieces of the market. Headline sales being up while foreclosures surged 25%, values dropped 3%, and foreclosures as a percent of total sales surged to 45% means the market is getting worse. Strip out foreclosure-related sales, you have 21,800 organic sales, me selling home to you. That's the slowest July on record. As a matter of fact, 2 years ago it was closer to 55,000 homes. The existing home market, me selling a home to you, and the existing home supply is by far the largest market out there on what has to clear before this gets better. It's not the banks taking back more supply than they sell each month and dumping that at discounts. That's not going to help the housing market, and that's what's happening last month. So if you take the 39,500 minus the 45%, 18,000 homes left the foreclosure inventory supply last month. The banks took back 30,000. So the banks end up after the month of July with even more supply on their hands. So that's living color right there. What is happening with this market? It doesn't matter if headline numbers go up, if all of the different parts of the whole entire housing market get worse, and it's obvious here they have gotten worse. Notice the defaults again have averaged over 40,000 for the last 5 months, right? That's 200,000 notice of defaults that are in the pipeline right now that will come up from the next 1 to 5 months out, because that's how long it takes to go to notice of trustee sale and to the foreclosure auction. So we already know that foreclosures are going to stay very elevated for the next 5 months. The problem is seasonality. Now, at the end of last summer selling season in September, values dropped 7.6%, the biggest 1-month fall on history in the state of California. Since then, they've fallen another 27%, and we're down 35% on the median now in 13 months. Last summer, we had peak prices. Remember that. This is the first summer without any exotic loans, such as stated income, interest only, second mortgages to 100%, whatever, to drive the market. And that's why you're seeing organic sales so low right now. But what's going to happen this September? I think the same thing. I think seasonality demand will dry up and values will continue to tumble, just like they did last year. We know that inventories are continuing to build. We know what's in the pipeline right now. We know the John and Jane homeowner can't sell the property, and their main competition is the bank, and they're upside down in their home, and they'll probably choose to wait it out until their exotic loan implodes. And it's just how it's working. It's the cycle, and the values dropping, which are causing more loan defaults, that cause more supply, that causes housing prices to drop, and it's a feedback loop, and we're right in the middle of it. And we've only gone through the subprime implosion now, and we're seeing Alt-A's and jumbo prime loans just beginning to blow up, and Alt-A's led by the pay option arm, and we're about 4 to 5 months into that cycle. And that cycle, the pay option arm implosion doesn't even peak until December 2009, guys. So we're going to be around here talking about this for a while. Just don't ever believe the headlines. And make sure you go onto my blog located at ml-implode.com and read each little line item of these reports I have up here. it's all listed there for you to see, and I think it'll bring the foreclosure and the housing market into a much clearer view for you, especially if you're looking to buy or sell a home. Anyway, that's it now. For now, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please go onto my blog and enter your email address in and subscribe to it. Then you'll get emailed things I do every day, and I do put something on the blog every single day. Subscribe to this YouTube channel by clicking subscribe right down there at the bottom of the screen. Also, give me 5 stars, guys, if you like it. I still work for stars, and by all means, don't believe the hype.